Because I can see we up here in the building for another episode of Outside the Box. We in the dungeon, the garage. I'm chopping it up today. I got my man in the studio with me today, my man Zach, knowledgeable brother. I'll let him, you'll learn about him on his own as he speaks, as we go forward.
How y'all doing?
Yes, sir. We in the studio today. I cut the little intro off. We was listening to Pac. We've been talking about Is This a White Man's World? We got a 30-minute platform, and so what we've been discovering is that, it's a lot of information that gets covered and a lot of things that we like to discuss. And sometimes 30 minutes is not, a large enough platform. So we didn't want to waste a whole lot of time with the small talk. We wanted to dive on in and get into some of this stuff that we've been talking about. In the previous shows, as we are upstart, in the previous shows we were talking about the children being our future, and we were tying the children being our future, and we were tying it into, us understanding just how important it is, the legacy that we leave behind for those that are coming behind us, but how important the role we play in the influence of those that are behind us. And we were talking about, how we can't point the finger and blame and say how out of line the young generation is when we had to look at the mirror at ourselves. What we discovered was when in looking at the mirror at ourselves, not only did we have to become accountable and assume responsibility, but we also began to discover that things were not often or always just as bad as it seemed. What we began to uncover was that the actual energy that appears to be rambunctious and kids, going crazy is really actually the energy that we need in this hour. Because if the kids were in line according, if our young generation and even our generation that started the rebellious with the hip hop and stuff, if we were in line according to society standards, then we would be a bunch of yes ma'am and no sirs. You know what I'm saying? Everybody would be following their line. But instead what we got is a generation that appears rebellious, but rebellion is necessary for change. So it's not really rebellious, it's just that we got a generation now that, excuse my French, don't take no shit. You know what I'm saying? You can't feed a bunch of lies, you know what I'm saying? You can't just come and say anything to this young generation. They gonna challenge you and they wanna know what it is. Yeah, they got some stuff that they need to get worked together, but that's us as a community because we dysfunctional, you know what I'm saying? And so that's what we were talking about. We were talking about the dysfunction within the community and how we get together. Go ahead, Brother Zach.
Yeah, and that's the absolute truth, man. I think it's easy to look at the youth and to, kind of turn our heads into scorn or whatever. But there's a lot of truth in the way they're expressing themselves. There's a whole lot of truth. So we need to, we have this culture of just, what's wrong with these kids, but, we need to learn to listen to them.
Yes.
We need to learn to hear them and really see them.
Man, you just said an interesting point. I was talking with a buddy of mine yesterday evening, and he's an educator. And he actually, that's what he said. I got the note right here. He actually made a mention, and what he said, one of the things we have to do, he said that we need to begin to connect with the children. He said what he did that helped him, and I'll let him speak for himself because he's going to come on the show eventually. But he talked about having to connect with the children. And one thing I learned in ministry, I used to be a youth minister. And one thing I learned in ministry, they say, when you go to a foreign country and you trying to preach to the natives, you know what I'm saying? You trying to preach, but they got a need that need to be met. And they don't speak your language, you know what I'm saying? So you saying something, but they don't even comprehend what you're saying. You got to learn how to speak the language of the natives if you're going to talk to them. So the same thing is with the young folk. We got to learn how to speak their language if we're going to talk to them. The good thing, though, now is our generation, actually the gap, when we talked about how our generation is so closed of a gap with the young generation and how it ain't much separation, again, that's what we saying, though. What appears to be bad is actually working kind of towards our good. Yeah. That's kind of what the energy we need, because the gap kind of needs to be closed so we can communicate with them. Yeah. That's how we can draw the bridge and begin to bridge the gap, should I say, to try to correct or repair some of the damage that's been done in the community. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, bro. And to a kind of a larger cultural, racial, ethnic point, we're trying to make ourselves whole again. So that's a good thing when we're connected, because in a sense we're trying to be men and women in our own right. You know, we have this way that we've grown into this culture, this society, but we still have pieces to put together. That's our own story. We're trying to grow into that. Man. And so, you know, we're kind of, in a sense, we're kind of children ourselves trying to grow up. So, you know, we have this bond with them.
Yes, yes, real talk. Man, that's true. You just hit a good point, because I know for myself, I'm 41, you know what I'm saying? And real talk, like, a lot of my personal and self-realization have come now recently in my later years, you know what I'm saying? Like, when I was young, I was dumb, you know what I'm saying? I made a lot of mistakes and a lot of errors, making the wrong decisions. So I'm closer to the youth, you know what I'm saying, in my discovery as well, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Experience,
yeah, exactly. Experience is the teacher. And so what I thought I knew at 20, I didn't really know. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The way I viewed the world, my perception of what I thought was real and true, it wasn't until I got out here and realized things was different, man. But
you got a lot from that experience.
Man, real talk, man. Yeah. Again, we are recording live for anybody that wants to call in. Again, you can call in at 215-383-3721. We chopping it up here in the dungeon, outside the box. And again, we talking about what's going on out here. Man, like you say, as on the community level, I use the analogy of I'm an athlete, so I couldn't help but use the analogy of a team. Yeah. And I couldn't help but picture, you know, people always say life is like a game. Yeah. So I drew the picture in my mind, the analogy of the game. You know what I'm saying? And as an athlete, that's what I began to understand. It wasn't like where I came from in my younger years, man, we had a squad that, no lie, man. As I grew older and I played with other people and I went to college and different things, man, my high school team, man, we should have been undefeated. We should have had all kind of cats that went to the league and different things. But it's about guidance, influence, structure. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have proper coaching. It's a lot of things that we lacked and that we missed. So, you know, we were failed in some instances, you know what I'm saying, in that aspect. But what I learned is, so it's not about how good you are. It ain't about the talent. It's about learning the game. It's about how it's about what you learn about how to play the game. Notice we call Tim Duncan the big fundamental. Tim Duncan, and that's his name. And he's been a beast and dominated his position, a Hall of Famer, from doing nothing but being a big dude who somebody taught him the fundamentals, and he mastered the fundamentals, and he played and killed you doing fundamentals. No tricks, nothing smooth, sweet, and fancy. He just kills you with the simple fundamentals. He learned the game and mastered it. And what coaches always say, you can't coach size. You know, you can take a Charles Barkley at 6'4", 6'5", 6'3", whatever, and you can, you know, he can have tenacity, and he just earned his spot by fighting for it and earning it. But you can't make that joker be 6'11". You know what I'm saying? You can't make him be 6. But now you can take 6'11" Tim Duncan and you can teach him how to play basketball. And now you get a Tim Duncan as opposed to now. You see what I'm saying?
That's an excellent analogy, because as you say that, I'm looking at the community and I see a bunch of our people that's trying to, you know, dribble behind the back, be the Harlem Globetrotter niggas and shit like that. Man. And we just need some good fundamentals and some practical stuff, man.
Yes, sir. And that's,
you know what I'm saying? Just having that plan and just sticking to it.
And that's real talk, bro. Yeah. And that is real talk. We got to get back to the fundamentals, and we got to understand what we playing for. What we see, we in the game. And when we enter the game, you know, when we show up, it's not about the other team. My coach, when I got to college, man, I had the luxury of winning. And I wasn't used to winning from high school. And it's a trip now, because the college I went to, when I went, we were a first-year program. So they had never had a football program before we came. Yeah. So we were a whole bunch of freshmen who had never played college ball, mixed in with a couple upperclassmen that transferred, you know, from JUCO. Yeah. But we were really a young squad. So the expectation for us wasn't high. We were not expected to win. But I can tell you, my freshman year, we lost one game. You know what I'm saying? We were nationwide news. We were in ESPN and in we lost one game. And we had Joe Walton as our coach, man. And he was the winningest coach, second winningest coach in New York Jets history at the time. I learned so much from this man about football. You understand what I'm saying? And we won because we learned. And now I told the story, we would have players on our team that was racist, that we would fight against because they didn't like black folk. We went to a school where because we were a new program, they weren't used to blacks. So when we came as a first year program, all these niggas showed up on campus. We shook up the world like, hold on. And we wasn't just, we weren't average black college students. We was football players. So we was niggas that didn't really know. We was just coming to play ball. So we come in with our rap music, baggy jeans, you know what I'm saying? We coming up in here thugging, we braided hair, tattoos, you know. We came with a different aura than what they were used to. And so we had conflict, but yet we won on the gridiron because coach taught us how to focus on the common goal. Now here we are, we in the same position in this game of life, but we losing because if I'm going to argue with my teammates on the field in the middle of the game, if I'm going to argue with the ref when he make a bad call and let him get me disoriented and distracted, then I can't focus on what I'm doing. But if I focus on my job, on my position, you know what I'm saying, then we can win the game. I play football, and football, I love it. It's the most team-united sport that it is. Don't matter how good your quarterback is. If he ain't got no line to block, you can't win. Don't matter how good the running back is. If you understand what I'm saying? It takes every piece of the puzzle for us to win as a unit.
And everybody playing their part.
And this is where we are right now, in the essence, in the form of community. Needing to build, needing to put aside differences, putting aside religious differences, whether you know what I'm saying? We need to understand the common goal, that there's some people sitting at the top trying to wipe us all out. And they got us all moving to the beat of their drum. And we got a world full of brainwashed zombies, you know what I'm saying, that just need to wake up to be free. And it ain't a physical war, it's a psychological war of just people need to just wake up. You know what I'm saying? So it ain't no guns gonna get us free. Ain't no fist fight gonna get us free. You know what I'm saying? We gotta be free through this knowledge. It's a level. It's about raising our conscious awareness. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna go left on you a little bit.
Break me off.
Because